Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. I've been working on a project behind the scenes here for the last 10 weeks or so, and I'm finally at a point where I'm ready to essentially go public with it and share what we've been working on. It's something that I'm incredibly excited about. It took a lot of work, a lot of planning, a few sponsors, but I'm hoping that this will become a big part of my YouTube channel for the coming years. Basically, we're gonna start putting on full band live shows from the home studio. Now, this isn't a completely original idea. There's plenty of people that are doing this and have done this kind of thing in the past, but it hit me right around the beginning of March when the COVID crisis hit and all of my gigs and touring and everything pretty much for the foreseeable future was canceled. The thought was to quickly get some friends together and start live streaming us playing original music and cover sets and all kinds of stuff just to keep things fresh and be able to play together. But as social distancing guidelines set in, we weren't able to do that. And it got me thinking, if I'm going to do this, I really want to do it right. I want to do it with a high level of production value, and I want it to feel like a real show. I want it to feel like something that you would pay to see, although you're not going to have to pay to see any of it. It's going to be completely free. Planning phases are pretty much over, and we are ready to get to work to essentially change my home studio into a live broadcast studio. So here's the idea. Every month here on the main YouTube channel, we're going to be playing a live show with a live band here in the home studio. I've put together a band of really close friends of mine, people I've played with for years, people you've seen on the channel before. We'll introduce you to them a little bit later, and we're going to keep the possibilities open. But the idea is to put on a fully produced live show here on YouTube at least once a month, possibly more. If it grows in popularity and the demand is there, we might be able to pull this off once a week, although logistically that might be kind of challenging. Basically, what I want to do is highlight musicians and musicianship and celebrate live music and original music here on this YouTube channel. I want to share stories of the artists that are featured and their music and how they came to write the stuff that they did. I want people to connect with the band members and get to know them and their stories and how they got into doing what they're doing. Basically, I just want to play really good music with really good friends of mine for all of you here on YouTube. Now, I don't have a name for this series yet. I'm open to suggestions. If you have any ideas, leave them in the comments section down below. We very well may pick one of your suggestions because we have no idea what to call this thing yet. And I'll be posting around on Instagram and my Facebook page as to the actual time of the event and everything. We're going to treat this like a live show. There's going to be concert posters and stuff. Actually, that's a cool idea too. If anybody out there is an artist and you want to design a concert poster for us, by all means, I'm totally open to that. As you can tell, we're still kind of figuring this whole thing out. But in order to make this thing happen, we essentially have to take this home studio setup and turn it into a broadcast studio. Now, in order to do this, we've teamed up with a few sponsors who are going to help us get the gear we need to make this live stream a reality. Universal Audio, Earthworks Microphones, Hercules Stands, and Ampeg for the bass amp. Now, there may be some other sponsors that come on later down the line, but for now, those companies have been really cool in helping us out with the gear that we need to make this happen. Now, in the description box down below, I will have everything listed in links in case you are interested in how to live stream your band. There are multiple ways to do it. This is the way we're going to do it because we want to have a certain level of production value, and so it's a little more involved than you might need if you just want to do a basic live stream. Now, this is not just going to be us setting up a webcam in the middle of the room and playing to that. The idea that I have in my head is a fully produced multi-camera studio quality live stream that we can do consistently and repeat on the channel every single episode. Whether or not we can pull that off is yet to be seen, but that's the idea. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we start to transition this home studio into a live broadcast studio. We're going to be putting together an in-ear monitoring system for the band and also setting up the console that we're going to use for conversion and splitting out to live streaming and our recording computer. I've got my friend Andy McDonald coming over to help us out, and my dad is actually helping us out as well. He's got a degree in electrical engineering and knows a thing or two about signal flow and networking. We're going to start pulling this studio apart and get it working, hopefully.
You can see their shot, you stay on them for that, you switch to something else, right? And then they take the opportunity to change that to a new shot, right? So they will probably, I don't know that we have like a queue function, right? They're going to need to know when they're on.
Signals.
Yeah, we'll figure that part out. But yeah, that'll be just a planned orchestration, right?
We'll just orchestrate it out,
Yeah,
song by song and solo by solo.
So.
Everyone, this is Andy McDonald and my dad, Glenn. So right now we're in the preliminary phases of kind of scoping out the room, figuring out where everybody's going to be, where everyone's sort of stations are going to be, and talking about camera layout. And then from there, we're going to start figuring out the audio signal routing for basically everything. Where are we at right now, Andy?
So we're just kind of thinking through input channels, monitors, right? So we got a plan there. General plans are we're going to take all of our inputs and record them in Pro Tools, right? So we'll have a multi-track copy. We're going to mix out of Pro Tools for a broadcast mix and send that into another machine where we're going to combine the audio with the video feed and stream via OBS.
So channel count, just because we got 16 channels in.
Yep.
So we're going to have kick, snare, overhead left and right.
2 toms.
Tom 1 and 2. Bass.
Yep.
And then you're going to go guitar left and right after bass.
Yeah, and we can call it 1 or 2. It can be left or right. Depends on if the group has multiple guitarists.
Let's jump over. We have to show them the Midas. I've never talked about this rack. Okay. It's been in like every one of my videos ever, and I've never talked about what it actually is or does. A few years ago, when my parents did this basement, they did it so that they could host house shows down here. And with that in mind, Andy helped them spec out this rack here, which has this Midas console in it. And I'm glad they did that, because now that's letting us do this live stream thing. So this is a Midas M32C with the input module down below it. Basically, this is the 16 analog inputs. These are the 8 analog outs. And this is what we're going to use to handle the conversion from analog to digital for the live stream. And we're going to use it to connect to this computer so that we can record multi-track each session and then mix them down, actually put each live session up on Spotify when they're done. So this is basically the center point, the cornerstone of the whole thing, right? Yeah. So for the monitoring, basically we have a full Behringer P16 monitor setup, which is what we use actually in Noah's studio. Basically everyone will have their own personal mixer. So we don't have to have somebody running a monitor mix, which eliminates one more crew person we have to have for the live stream. And you'll have a full 16 channels here. So you have a channel for every input that we have on the Midas console. And they're real easy. They just connect via Cat 5 cable to the console.
Is it on wheels?
Yeah.
Okay. We're good. All right. So we'll want to make sure our 2-track mix here is as low latency as possible, so that we don't get too beyond the sync capabilities when we get back to OBS. So we'll want to do some processing, probably do some bus processing, like you might normally, just approach a mix project in the studio, and ideally some 2-bus processing to see if we can get the levels where we want them. So,
okay, so the next thing we're trying to figure out right now is how we're going to handle things like processing in the mix in terms of effects, vocal reverbs, drum compression, things like that. And it sort of brought up this stylistic, sort of philosophical question of how do we want this thing represented? Is it an accurate representation of what's actually going on in the room, or is it going to be treated more like a mix on a record? What's the sound going to be like? I like something with a little vibe. The reason I picked the players for the band is because everyone has kind of a similar sound and a similar vibe. We're all kind of on the same page with that. So I'm okay with a little processing, a little compression on the drums, a little saturation here and there, some reverb. And so what we're trying to figure out now is, should we handle that stuff in the Pro Tools session, or should we handle it on the way in? And I'm thinking, because we have all of these guitar effects and pedals and things, we could possibly do it on the way in.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, the challenge with doing it in the box here for typically software and interface meant for studio sessions is it's not a live interface, right? You don't have, we don't here have physical faders or ways to control effects like you would almost as a member of the band running front of house, right? So if the performers are running those effects themselves, that's cool. Or even if we have some outboard gear in here to do it with, might do the job too. So
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a creative aspect for sure.
All right. Check, check. Yeah, yeah.
We have some signal.
We getting it?
Yeah.
Check, check, 1, 2. This is always my sound check routine at gigs. Just saying 1, 2.
That's exactly the way it's supposed to be.
2, 2. Should point out, everything we're doing here is a temporary setup. If you've been following the channel for a while, you know my wife and I have been saving up for a house, which is why we're here in this basement, living here. And we should be buying something in the next several months, which means as soon as we do, we're going to be blowing all this stuff apart and putting it back together in the new studio setup. But that will be will probably be a whole series of videos of building a new home studio and everything. So everything we're doing now is kind of a temporary solution. Okay, so just so I understand, we're on the same page. We will directly patch 8 channels from the wall to the patch bay. To this last block here.
Yep.
So this will be the live room.
Oh, in fact, the fact that we have those there, we can normal them.
So basically this will be the live room block. And we'll have, our 8, so kick, snare, whatever it is, bam, into the preamps, into any processing we're doing here.
Yep.
And then out
Back
into
into
this, which will then go into the Midas.
Right. And if we set the normals, if it can be set for just those blocks, then if there's nothing patched, you won't have to have a patched cable to actually get the signal through.
Got it. All right, so one of the next things we got to figure out is on the video switching side. I bought this a couple of weeks ago, and by bought this a couple weeks ago, I mean I ordered this from B&H like almost 10 weeks ago, and it just finally showed up. So essentially what this is a video switcher for live streaming. So you can plug 4 cameras into this, and technically 2 microphones, but we won't be using that feature. And you hook it up via USB-C to your streaming software, in which case we're going to be using OBS, which is what I've always used for all my live streams. And what it allows you to do is in real time switch between the 4 cameras, the 2 mic inputs. You can do fade to black, you can do different transitions, and it comes with this software here, which what we're trying to figure out is if you can all 4 cameras at once in like a quad screen setup. So essentially what we're going to have is a multi-person crew. We're going to have Andy running the broadcast mix, so the mix that you guys will hear on the live stream will be Andy in the studio mixing. We'll probably have somebody, my dad, probably running the video switching, controlling the cameras, some things that I'm not ready to share yet that are going to be part of the live stream that will be run by the video switcher. And then we're going to have a producer director, essentially, which is going to be Tilly, kind of running the whole show. And the plan right now is to essentially script and storyboard the show in terms of, okay, here we're going to play these 2 songs, and then we're going to do this thing, and then we're going to go to these songs, and then we're going to answer a few questions. So it kind of keeps us on track and moving along. In order for us to be able to do that, we need to be able to see all 4 cameras pulled up at one time. So I'm looking at the software to try and figure out if that's possible or if I need to buy a different switcher. The thing with this whole setup is I have a very clear picture in my mind of what I want it to look like and sound like and feel like. And it's just a matter of figuring out all the logistical things that we need to do and execute properly to get that level of production quality that I have in mind. All of the gear that we're going to be using for this I will have linked in the description box down below, and hopefully we can have at least the monitor setup going by tonight. That's the goal. Oh boy.
Hey,
we're gonna need like a roadmap for all this.
Right. I'm gonna do a diagram. You like this here?
Okay, so things to figure out. We need to figure out talkback.
Yeah, so band talkback, right? And if you have a producer, they can be on that too.
Well, what we could do, because what part of the producer's job will be to like read questions out or things to the band. So we could have talkback for band to stream, and then what was the other thing? Comms.
Comms for production team.
All right, so now we're on to setting up the monitor setup. So let me take you through what we're going to use and how this is going to work. Actually, let me put this knife down so I don't cut myself. So basically, every member of the band and the artists that we have coming to play with us. I just gave that away. That was part of the stream I was gonna... We'll get to that later. So the way this is gonna work is we have the distribution module. This is going to plug into the back of the Midas console via Cat5 cable. We've got a pass through in the wall, and it's going to distribute basically all of our channels to each one of these personal mixers. And then we're going to attach the mixers to mic stands that we got, so we can keep everything nice and clean, and you can have your monitor set up right next to you and easy to access. So essentially, like if you've ever played in a church setting, or you've worked in studios, you've used something like this in the past. We're gonna unbox all this stuff, get everything set up on the mic stands, and get them distributed and ready to patch into the Midas so we can test for any kind of air gaps or anything like that in the signal flow. Okay, so
if that's the case, we could use the switch.
It's a little distribution box. So basically, we'll plug each one of those into a different one of these ports here. And Bob's your uncle.
Could be good or that could be bad.
Could be...
Probably good.
All right.
Probably good.
What if I unplug it? Does the orange light go away? Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Power. Check.
Ooh, look at that.
Get it. 1, 2, 1. Oh,
Yeah, there
green.
you go.
That one's
There's
green. That's good. Green is good.
See that? See
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, that's your meter.
Wow. Wait, let me get some
On off.
cans.
So basically select
Wow.
the channel. You can hear me?
Yep.
All right. Right.
Oh, it's backwards. Hold on. I just got my headphones on backwards. Okay.
Nice.
There it is.
Right?
Right.
All right.
Let me try the limiter.
Limiter. Ah!
That was great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so thanks to Andy and my dad and Tilly for helping out. We've got pretty much everything we need to get going. So we're going to quickly walk you through this signal flow and how this is going to work for the live stream. The band is going to be in here. We're going to be all mic'd up, our whole rig's ready to go. We're going to run all the mics into a patch panel that's sitting there in the corner that you can't see. And that is patched directly into the Midas console down here. So this is where our analog to digital conversion is happening, and we're going out of this via USB into my main recording computer back there, where we're going to record multi-track into Pro Tools, so then we can mix down these live streams and put them up on Spotify later. We're also going to be splitting from the Midas digital via light pipe to a Universal Audio Apollo X4. Universal Audio is another sponsor on this series. They're providing a Apollo X4 interface, which is going to be connected to the streaming laptop. So we're going to have the digital audio coming from the Midas to the Apollo when it arrives, and that is what you are going to be hearing. Andy will be mixing from that room in there, and it will hit the Apollo, which will then go into the streaming software alongside the camera switcher, which my dad will be running, and that will be the complete show. We've yet to pick a time. If you're watching this sometime in the near future, I'll have a pinned comment down below telling you when it's happening. And yeah, I'm kind of excited and nervous, and yeah, it's gonna be good, hopefully.
Don't get nervous yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, is we gotta like learn a set and put music together and rehearse and do all that side of it.
Yeah.
Which is the hard part.
Worry about that.
easy
Yeah.
part.
This was the easy part.
Right.
Okay. All right.